From the very beginning, the House of Saud has used the Takfiri ideology of Ibn Abdul Wahhab to advance its geopolitical interests. Just consider the biggest political opponents of Saudi since the 18th century till today. Traditional Sunnis like the Ottomans were the first major enemy of the nascent Saudi state. Ibn Abdul Wahhab labeled them as kafir mushriks and said that offensive jihad is necessary to cleanse their shirk from the Arabian Peninsula and beyond. The Saudi state, of course, promoted these teachings most intensely between the 18th and early 20th centuries when it was at war with the Ottoman Caliphate. Twelver Shia, like those in Iraq and Iran, were also labeled by Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his followers as kafir mushriks. The Saudi state promoted these ideas in the early 19th century and then strongly again after the Iranian Revolution in 1979. The Saudi monarchy feared that an Islamic revolution like what happened in Iran would also happen in Saudi and topple their rule. So for these political reasons, they aggressively spread the idea that Twelvers are kafir mushriks. In reality, most non-Saudi affiliated Sunni scholars of modern times consider Twelvers to be Muslims, and even many of the greatest Sunni scholars of history consider them to be Muslim, including Ibn Taymiyyah, Al-Ghazali, Ibn Abidin, and others. Islamists like the Muslim Brotherhood have also been labeled by Ibn Abdul Wahhab followers as Khariji Kafirs, or they're at minimum extreme deviants who deserve to be killed. Again, this religious ruling is based purely on the political interests of the Saudi state since 1979. Saudi most heavily promoted anti-Islamist sentiment in the 1990s to repress the Ikhwan-inspired Sahwa movement, which was growing in influence in the country. Eventually, opposition to the Sahwa movement led to the emergence of Madkhalism. Madkhalism became even more prevalent over the past 2 decades of the war on terror and then the Arab Spring, effectively becoming a tool to advocate Saudi secularization. And as we all know, Madkhalis today are the biggest promoters of Saudi normalization with Israel. They don't always say that they want normalization with Israel directly. Rather, they support Israel indirectly by, for example, opposing any boycott of Israel.
Many of the ulama, they said boycotting is haram. It's not up to you, Habibi. It's not up to you, Habibi.
They've also shamelessly attacked Palestinians, claiming that Palestinians are mushrik, grave worshippers, and are in fact deviants because they ally with Shia Iran.
In Palestine, there's a shirk. Shirk everywhere in Palestine. Brother, see? I tell you, shirk everywhere, brother.
So they all commit shirk. Shirk is there.
Yeah, open shirk. They do shirk, but don't say they did.
So the other Palestinians committing shirk then?
Yeah, Allah, Muslims do shirk, doing graves. They worship graves openly. There's a graves, Habibi. Hamas are proper Rafidi supporters. They support Rafida.
As you can see, since the time of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, takfir for political purposes has been a central tool used by the Saudi state. And I myself have become a primary target of this politically motivated sectarianism. Why? Because in 2022, I criticized Saudi for organizing Halloween celebrations. I also criticize Saudi for its secularization agenda and its willingness to normalize with Israel at the expense of the Palestinians. In response, for the past 2 years, Salafi sectarians have non-stop takfired me, threatened to kill me, and initiated smear campaigns against me where they accuse me of simultaneously being a Quburi grave worshipper, a Rafidi Iranian agent, and a Khariji terrorist, all wrapped into one. This is despite the fact that I actually consider myself an admirer of Imam Ahmad and Ibn Taymiyyah and follow many of their positions. In the view of these Salafi sectarians, my biggest deviance is that I claim that the most dangerous enemies of Islam are atheists, liberals, Zionists, and Hindutva fascists. For such Salafis, this is wrong. Those are not the greatest enemies of Islam. Rather, the greatest enemies of Islam are actually the entire Muslim Ummah, which has fallen into shirk, and it's necessary to constantly attack them or takfir them or kill them. This requires using social media to non-stop highlight errors in their aqidah and understanding of Tawheed so you can expose them as mushriks. Again, we shouldn't condemn Salafism as a whole, partly because doing so would be tantamount to condemning many essential Islamic ideals championed by scholars like Imam Ahmad and Ibn Taymiyyah. But Salafis are not one group. They're not a monolith. The most admirable of the Salafis are those who lean toward the teachings of the Hanbali school and Ibn Taymiyyah. They're some of the best Muslims. The most problematic Salafis, however, are those who lean towards the teachings of Ibn Abdul Wahhab and the political policies of the Saudi state. Those who care about the future of the Salafi movement have an obligation to purify it. That means forcing it in the direction of Imam Ahmad and Ibn Taymiyyah while stripping away or marginalizing its links with Ibn Abdul Wahhab and the Saudi state. Salafis should be encouraged in the direction of cooperating with other Muslims rather than takfiring and killing them. That means pushing them to build alliances with traditional Sunnis, 12er Shia, and Islamists like the Ikhwan under the broad banner of Islam. Establishing such alliances does not mean denying that these other groups have some beliefs that are deviant or even extremely deviant. It simply means recognizing them in general as fellow Muslims so that the Ummah doesn't descend into non-stop civil war. It means not treating fellow Muslims as if they're the greatest enemies of Islam and further from Islam than the pagan Quraysh or atheists, liberals, Zionist Jews, and Hindutva Hindus. There is nothing strange or un-Islamic in such a perspective. If it seems strange and un-Islamic, this is only due to the deviant sectarian ideology of Ibn Abdul Wahhab that has been propagated by the Saudi state over the past 2 centuries.